and I will be briefly introducing the Osterwald business model canvas, which is a tool for the designing, projecting, and sharing of business models as a first step towards a business plan. It's a very useful tool that it's also part of the course. Okay, so the canvas itself is divided into 9 sections, we'll see them soon, which try to cover the most important aspects of building a business. Schematically, we have a value proposition, which is a product or service that we are going to provide. A customer segment, which are those groups of people that we are budgeting our value, our product or service, the most important models. And then we have distribution channels, which allow us to bring the value to the customer, but also maintain relationships such as advertising or building up a customer relationship customer. And the revenues that we receive from the customers, usually in form of money, but not necessarily in exchange for our value. Now, in order to create this value, to provide it, we need some key resources and key activities. These resources that we have that might be employees or factory and activities that we do, such as designing or creating a publicity advertising campaign. The activities that allow us to create the value, distribute it to the customers, build the relationship, and maintain the revenue stream from the customers. These key activities and resources often we don't have all the resources we need, and we don't have the know-how to produce all these activities. So often we have to rely on partners, third parties, to provide us with either materials, services such as advertising, distribution of goods. That if we don't have the ability to do it ourselves, we can have a third party doing it, or maybe it's just cheaper. These activities, resources, have a cost, and will come up my cost structure, and with this we'll be able to see if my business model makes sense in economical sense. So, a way to see this canvas is to have the consumer side, which provides with value for us through the revenue stream on the right side. And these are things that we will always try to increase, to have more consumers, additional segments, or more of the same, a better customer relationship, more flexible channels. These are things that I want to increase, revenue of course as well. And on the left side, I will have things that I want to minimize. So I want to reduce cost in terms of activities. I might want to have cheaper or more accessible resources. I might choose to use a third party for doing some things. Perhaps in another country can do that cheaper than doing it oneself. Now, schematically, this part of Osterwald's book is a diagram that very neatly shows how these models interact between each other. So we have a value that we have to bring to the customer, but we also want to build a relationship with the customer. All this is supported by the revenue stream that we get from the customers. On the left side, we have the activities and sources to maintain all these segments. along with the activities and resources provided by key partners, all of which have an inherent cost. Now, if we go into a very simplified example of a product such as an iPod, and we start, let's say, I don't know if it is true, but let's say that people at Apple say, hey, I hate my music player. I think there are a lot of us that could use something better than that. Why don't we produce something to make that consumer segment happy? And they come up with the idea of a device that they can call music that can synchronize with my personal computer in order to have my music there and make it very easy for me to bring it along wherever I want to go. So having the customer segment and the value proposition, we can then see the distribution channels that I can bring these to the customer. That could be, for instance, the online market, Apple stores we have, and digital downloads of music. Customer relationship, Apple has a very particular customer relationship, which I will not go into here, but we know that Apple as a brand has a very strong relationship with its customers that always come back for more. Whenever there's a new version or a new product, they are eager to buy them. So they have a very special relationship. Within the left side, we have activities such as designing the iPod, and resources such as digital information. The brand, we said, was an important resource for Apple. Employees, the players themselves, and strategic partners, which are factories in China, Foxconn, the music industry, which provide with the actual hardware and the music that then they distribute to their customers. Costs are employee costs, whatever it costs to produce the devices and to get the music from the partners, and maintaining the brand, things like advertising and other activities that Apple does. In exchange, they expect money for the devices, and of course, they get their share of money from the music. This is a classical example also from Osterwald. Another example that is maybe not so clear, but I want to show is that of Nespresso, which you probably don't know about, but it's basically a Nestle coffee sold by internet. So here we start from the value proposition that Nestle has coffee, and they have the idea of selling it to other channels, be it by telephone or online sales, but still also in supermarkets. And let's say, for instance, that we concentrate on the consumer segment of the corporate consumer segment. So offices and big companies would like to provide with coffee to their programmers, for instance, because they work much better if they have the coffee. And they build a relationship based on, well, connecting with them by telephone, contacting them, trying to get that sort of relationship with these companies. That they will be providing with the coffee, of course. They will have to transport it there, produce it, advertise it, and this is part of the costs. And of course the revenues for the selling copies in, I don't know, 2-4 months. So we have this cost here. But even if we have that business model already running, what we can do is to try to expand our running business. In this case, for instance, now that we have big companies buying the coffee, we might want to increase this right side and add another consumer segment that is individuals. So if I'm trying to sell to any people at home trying to have a cup of coffee, instant coffee, so I have already the channels for them to do it. Maybe I have to change the web marketplace a little bit, but I'm allowing also people to buy that coffee. I will probably have to change my relationship with the customer, with that segment, with targeted advertising for that segment. And things like distribution, I might find it cheaper to use the postal office for small quantities for individuals instead of having my own trucks going home by home and using it only for big quantities of coffee. So the idea, what I want to express right here, is that the business canvas is not a static thing, and it's something that you cyclically try to improve, always trying to increase your right side and decrease your left side. And even whether you have already a running business or not, this iteration can occur at any time in the process. So in the first example we saw, we took a customer-driven approach where we started with the need from the customer and then moved towards the value needed and all the channel and the rest of the parts of the canvas. And in the second example, we started with the value itself, and then moved to fill in all the boxes. Truth is that these are the most common two. You usually have the idea of a product, or you see the need of a solution in a particular sector, especially if you know it well. But you can start with, I don't know, knowing of a factory that does Chinese phones very cheap, so you might think, hey, I can start my brand of phones. Or you can start actually anywhere. And even if you already have a canvas, for instance, we started with a coffee, we sold it to the companies. But in the next iteration, I can start from the segment and I say, wait, why can't I sell to normal people? And then you expand your consumer segment and then work your way into value. You probably need to tailor your product or your offerings for these individuals and work your way to the other parts of the canvas. This allows you to tweak things so that you will be improving your business plan and your chances of success. The canvas is one tool that we name, but it's not the only tool. There's a very well-known SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunities and threats tool for analysis of anything, including businesses. And particularly related to the canvas are the customer segment canvas and value proposition canvas. Customer segment canvas allows you to identify within our consumer sector what is it that that segment is needing, or things or fields, and in order to better, once you understand your consumer segment better, you can tailor your advertising and your product in a much efficient way. The value proposition canvas starts from there and tries to tailor the product in order to maximize the benefits and experience for the customer. And that is can be mapped to the canvas on these two models. So working in these two things, we can improve the business canvas that we already have by making use of other tools that also exist. So before, things should be thought up as cycles. So you have an idea and you prepare a design for business. You create a business canvas, you create a design, probably also a business plan, and at different scales you want to go through a cycle. Whereas you do it in one particular business plan, so you go through cycles of your business canvas in order to improve it before you create a final business plan. But also, on large scales, once you have a design, a business plan, you will probably want to create either a minimum value product, which you can test, or an elevator speech. That you need to create something that you can try to test. So if you have a minimum value product, you can try launching it in a limited fashion in order to obtain feedback from it. If you have an elevator speech, you can try selling it. And the feedback from that experience will allow you to learn about the things you did wrong and the things you can incorporate into your ideas, and then close this cycle of ideas, product, and learning. Well, this is pretty much it. I don't know if you have any particular questions. Or I want to finish just by saying that the business canvas is not a business plan, but it's a very good first step because it allows you to share a lot of information in a very compact and clear format. So if you have any questions? No questions, it means it was very good or very bad. I hope it's the first.